The National Security Agency program that collects data on nearly every U.S. phone call isn't legal. That's according to the 5-member Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board. What's more, the Privacy Board says collecting phone records hasn't done anything to prevent terrorism. Here's more on that story.
While Attorney General Eric Holder says the U.S. is open to a conversation with Edward Snowden, Clemency, he says, quote, would be going too far. Holder referred to Snowden as a defendant and not a whistleblower. President Obama has repeatedly insisted he return to the U.S. and face espionage charges. Meanwhile, playing out this afternoon on the free Snowden website, the former NSA contractor is answering questions. On what is the appropriate level of spying, Snowden replied, not all spying is bad. The biggest problem we face right now is the new technique of indiscriminate mass surveillance, where governments are seizing billions and billions and billions of innocents' communication every single day. Today's Q&A comes as a 238-page report by the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, an independent agency, says the Patriot Act, in particular Section 215 of the Patriot Act, does not allow the bulk collection of phone records, the so-called metadata, and suggested it is unconstitutional. President Obama consulted the 5-member board before delivering his speech outlining NSA reforms. Last Friday, the president acknowledged his privacy concerns, but called the bulk collection program lawful.
Relationships with foreign intelligence services have expanded, and our capacity to repel cyber attacks have been strengthened. And taken together, these efforts have prevented multiple attacks and saved innocent lives.
But the report did not find a single instance where the program made a difference in a previously unknown terrorist attack. The American Civil Liberties Union Deputy Legal Director welcomed the board's report in a statement, saying, quote, the board's report makes it even clearer that the government's surveillance policies, as well as our system of oversight, are in need of far-reaching reform. The report should spur immediate action by both the administration and Congress.
And to talk more about the NSA, we are joined by Dee Dee Benkie, Jackie Guzda, Dr. Michael Mckoy, and Allan Topol in Washington, D.C. Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's take the temperature of our panelists right now. What do you think about the president's speech? Lawful or not lawful? Dee Dee, we'll start with you. I have an idea where you stand on this.
Well, I think the metadata has been illegal from the beginning. I mean, it's just wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Jackie?
Yeah, I totally agree with Dee Dee. They should not be collecting so much metadata. They're saying that they're collecting so much that it's slowing up the work of the NSA. So let's take a second look at this.
Okay, Dr. McCoy?
You know, we have a unanimous panel here.
Ooh, finally.
Wow, I was just going to say, it's the first time I ever heard Jackie and Dee Dee say, hey, I agree with you.
Look, when the evidence is in that this data isn't helpful, and as Jackie just said, it's slowing up the works, why are we doing it? And unfortunately, the president still did not give a good answer about why we're doing this. They put out the phrase national security, and they don't give any specifics. So give us details or stop this illegal program.
It's almost a lazy way to do it. It's like, let's just grab everything and see what happens. Well, it's not working.
And I was talking to an expert about this who actually said that he was saying why this operation isn't good. Because, yeah, you can collect all the data you want. It's still going to be people who have to look at it. People take time to look at it. It's a slow process. Don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's check in with our guest in Washington, D.C., Allan Topol. Your thoughts?
Thanks, Mia. I agree with the last 3 speakers, but I also think that the president didn't solve the problem at all. What we ought to approach it is like a search and seizure issue, that yes, the police can go out and get a warrant to search, but they need approval from a court, and they need some basis for going out to do it. And let's end the willy-nilly just gathering for the sake of gathering. If they have a reason to gather, let them go to a court or some other designated body, get approval, and go gather the information. But I think that your all 3 speakers are right, and I'm right with them. But I would create some judicial mechanism like a board and make that the only times under which information can be gathered.
Allan, thank you so much. Now, I want to break down some of the specifics. These are the things that the president says are going to happen. The NSA is going to be required to get permission to access phone records and won't be able to spy on friendly heads of state. So
that's
good idea.
Oh, who's friendly?
Well,
That's kind of funny. Okay,
wow,
just
what a
like.
groundbreaking reform.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like.
No, but wait, this has been going on for over a decade through many presidencies. So it's about time we take action on it.
I think that we've seen quite a few heads of states very upset with President Obama. about this. So I
Yes.
think that might be a good change to come about.
It's a good change.
It is a good
It's
change.
shocking we have to make this change,
Yes.
but it is a good
Yeah,
change.
but will it really happen? I don't know. Will it really happen? Because before we didn't even know what was going on. It was a surprise. Guess what? All your data is being collected.
Well, I think since
the president
Angela,
knew that.
No, Angela Merkel took him to task.
No,
now
she
I think
did.
he's going to do
She
it.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Allan, you jump in there also.
Hey, but yeah, in this world, it's even dicey to determine who's a friendly head of state these days.
That's a good
because
point.
that's quite a shifting standard. Now, I thought what the president said was a lot of mush. He was trying to split the baby, and I think it didn't make any sense at all. And throw a sop to the friendly heads of state. I mean, I think he's right back with a very, very difficult problem, and no real practical solution, unfortunately, came out of his talk.
I want to talk about some of the other recommendations that are still up in the air. Having third-party maintain phone data. Why is that so important?
But who's the third party? I mean, then
Well,
there's that too.
that's a great question.
I mean, because the third party. I mean, look what happened to Edward Snowden. You've got all these workers, and who's to say somebody's going to go to that third party, go to the first party, and sell it to the second party? I mean, we have all this vague, area that we're not used to, and I do
And
agree
with
with
all the
our.
hacking, that was my
I agree
question
with our
also.
guest in Washington D.C. saying that we need to have a board, or we need to have an action plan. Just talking about it's not going to get it done.
Well, there's a
Well,
good
if
point
there is
here.
a third party that now has access to data, isn't that going to increase hacking?
Yeah.
Not
the
only-
thing is, it doesn't solve the
and not only
problem.
that, but all the phone companies have said we can't hold all that data, and we don't want to. So who's this third party going to be? Are they going to be able to? Are subpoenas going to be just as easily possible, or not subpoenas, court orders to get that data as easy as it is now? I mean, this just feels like something that, well, you can say, well, it's not the government who's holding it, it's not the NSA. Everyone can pretend like we all feel better.
No, I think it feels worse because it feels like even more people have our personal data.
But there's got to
It's
be
like
some
another-
kind of plan, because Snowden should not, at his level, should not have had that classified information come
I
under his
agree.
radar.
We've
So-
talked about that on the show
Yeah,
over and
sure.
over.
So let's start with that. Let's start with some kind of plan here, not, as Allan is saying, this mush.
Allan, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, no, I think that's right, because the problem with the third party is all you're doing is increasing the number of people that are going to have access to the information, and that increases the number of people that can potentially leak it or from whom it can be gotten.
So
that's a
we all
step in the wrong direction.
But we all collectively agree on this, and I'm just wondering why the president is saying this.
Well, he still hasn't answered the question about
Yeah,
why
he
they need all
hasn't.
this data. I mean, that fundamental question has not been answered. When the findings suggest it's not helpful, when you still can't find people to actually burrow through all that data, and there's no available third party to take the data. So you have to create a third party to take the data,
But
and that's
isn't
essentially
his
like
job
the government
also
holding
to
it.
protect people?
Right.
And
So-
Very
so
much
you've got-
my point is,
No, very good point, Ian.
but if he's to protect the American people, isn't he making them more of it's a chance that they could be victims?
Of course,
point,
of course.
very good
Yeah,
point.
it
Yeah,
was not a good speech.
I just
think
can't
it was-
understand where he's coming
I think
from.
there's utter
wait,
fail. He's
you-
not handled this well at all. He's not handled it at all.
So you've
actually.
got this question of the unknown.
Okay, let me take a crack.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll take
Allan,
a crack
Allan, you
at
just
your
jump right in
question
here.
of where he's coming from and what he thinks he's doing is my instinct on this is he wanted to demonstrate with this talk he's not soft on the national security issue. I think for him that was sort of front and center. Yes, he thinks the excesses are wrong. Yes, he thinks that the program's wrong. But no, he's sensitive to the fact that he's commander-in-chief. He shouldn't be viewed as being soft on national security issues, and that's why he tried to split the baby, and that's why he ended up with a ridiculous statement about what he wanted to do. In my opinion, that was the motivation.
So, Allan,
Allan, you can't see Jackie, but she's dying to jump in here.
Hi. Yeah, Allan, here's the thing.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, all it's going to take is one, terrorist attack, some small thing, and then they're going to go back to Obama and say, you didn't keep us safe. So what is he to do?
Right, that's right. So he's come up with this formulation which really doesn't do anything because he's afraid that's going to happen.
Right,
But even though nobody can...
Yeah, so we've got to have, as we were saying before, some kind of plan, and Obama's got to have some kind of definite plan.
Okay, so stop spying on us and grabbing all our metadata, and let's focus on the terrorists and the bad guys. Like what you said, Jackie, that's slowing us down. Focus where we need to focus, not on everybody.
One of the
Don't grab
ideas,
everything.
one of the big ideas was to do exactly what you just said. Focus on people who are suspect, instead of this mass, surveillance of all of the American people.
And let's go back to Snowden for a minute also. Since
Jackie's boyfriend.
What? I didn't know that.
Snowden, yeah.
Oh. Traitor, hero.
Yeah. Oh, traitor, big time.
No, I'm in between, traitor and hero, but we'll talk.
But we've been talking about a possible deal.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea. Bring him back, get the information that we can from him, give him what he might want, and everybody's happy. In other words, we're looking for the positive aspects, not just to be punitive and to punish him.
Well, since
maybe
it's
we
high
could get
treason.
I say we get the information and punish him, but that's just.
I say it's high treason. Hang him high. Forget it. Do not negotiate with the terrorists. This guy's a terrorist. This guy's,
No.
Look, if you are a threat to domestic, if you're a domestic or foreign threat, and this guy's domestic and foreign at this point because he's been playing with the enemy and he's over, not here, and he has hurt our country. So I don't think we negotiate at all.
Wait, but there's more to it than that. He's done good for our country because
he
we're
has not.
having.
He has hurt our country. I don't know why.
Yeah, he has hurt our country.
But
But
helped our country at
well,
all.
he has because Obama just gave that speech on Friday.
He did bring the question to light about these.
It's definitely not work.
I don't know why.
We're working on it now.
Let's hear from Michael and then Allan, and then I think we're going to be out of time.
Well, I don't know why we assume Snowden even wants a deal. Which is to say, I'm sure he'd love a deal like, hey, you're perfectly free to come back to the U.S. and share all this information. But any deal is going to be give up all the information you have in exchange for clemency. Let's assume clemency's on the table. Well, if he was willing to give up all this data so he could be free, he wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure what deal he could be offered that the U.S. that the U.S. government would be willing to take. His agenda is to expose the secrets of the U.S. government that he believes to be nefarious. Any deal would stop him from doing that. So I don't know why he would take a deal.
And of course, he's over in Russia right now.
Yeah.
Let's weigh in with Allan.
Well, and we'd have the other problem if we brought him back and we thought we were going to put him on trial. We couldn't very well do that because we didn't want him disclosing publicly other information we have. So the government would be in a jam to try to put him on trial. So we're in a pretty tough situation with him either way. So making the deal or trying him isn't going to solve our problems at all.
All right. Well, thank you very much to all of our 4 panelists for your insights, and keep it here, everyone. It's rumored that Martin Scorsese might want to do a sequel to his hit movie Goodfellas, and it looks like federal prosecutors are providing him with a script. We'll talk more about one of the crimes of the century and some arrests made this week when we return.